Tokozani. This is Gogo uMkhanya and welcome to another episode of Vusela with Gogo uMkhanya. And today we're going to be talking about the significance of bugs and insects, and most specifically spiders. This question was brought to us by a question that was posed by at Little Star One on Instagram. I'll make sure that I post your Instagram handle in the description, as well as my Instagram handle and my email address in case you want to send me any questions and have me discuss them here on video. So, Little Star One wants to know about the killing of bugs, especially spiders. So, this is a pretty vague, broad kind of subject or question. So, I'm going to talk about the significance of bugs and insects, and specifically the spider. So, in my tradition of Ubungoma, our worldview is that of Ubuntu. And Ubuntu basically says, because you are, I am. And that is in relationship to all life and all living things. We are all connected. It is the oneness of all things, the interconnectedness of all things. Spirit moves through all living beings. Spirit comes through all living beings. And it doesn't matter the shape or the body, or excuse me, whether it's an animal or whether it's a plant or whether it's an insect or another human being. If it's alive, spirit inhabits that space. So understanding that, it puts bugs, insects, spiders in a different perspective. We begin to see them less as a nuisance and more as messengers. They are messengers of spirit. They come to us to tell us, to encourage us, to warn us, to validate us, to affirm us. They are messengers of spirit. The spider, most specifically, and I know I'm probably saying this incorrectly, but I believe it's Itzikavu Kavu, and that could be incorrect. But the spider is very significant in spiritual tradition. In almost every indigenous spiritual tradition, the spider holds great significance because of its nature, because it is a direct manifestation of the divine feminine. It shows us how to take our creativity and use it to sustain us, to sustain ourselves. It teaches us that beauty and strength are synonymous through the web. It teaches us how to use our creative endeavors in order to provide nourishment and provide the very practicalities of life for us. It teaches us, the spider comes and teaches us how to nurture and care for our children, how to care for the things that we create, our offspring, whether it's genetic offspring, biological offspring, or creative or spiritual offspring. And so the spider also teaches us about patience. It teaches us how to take our time in our creative endeavors. And it teaches us how to be precise in our movements. It teaches us about mystery, and it teaches us about spirit and strength. It also can teach us about the very dark side of our nature. It can teach us about our shadow side, how maybe we can move without, the way that a spider moves on a spider web is it moves and it doesn't really vibrate the web too much. So it moves in a stealth kind of manner. That can be something that is positive in your life, or that can be something that may need some work, where you're used to perhaps manipulating people and taking advantage of people by your ability to move very gently through these spaces. And so it's like using your powers for evil instead of good. So the spider can represent that side, both sides of your nature, the loving, caring, tender side, or the very selfish, manipulative, venomous side. So you have to be able to find balance. That's the purpose for these messengers, is they come to tell us when we're in alignment, and when we're in alignment, they come to tell us when we're in need of being in alignment. And so, because spirit inhabits all living things, because we subscribe to the philosophy of Ubuntu, we don't kill the spiders. We will escort the spider outside so the spider can continue to live its life and go on and continue its journey as it is. Because many times when these messengers come into our lives and we kill them, it is in fact like we are trying to kill off a part of ourselves subconsciously because we are refusing to hear the message that this being, this entity, is coming to share with you. I'll give you an example. When I was a Twaza, um, I kept, an ancestral altar, just a very personal ancestral altar to my grandparents in my room, and I kept it lit. Um, I kept it lit. I kept it lit with candles, and just had both sets of my grandparents there right with me in my room. And a fly came into my bedroom one day and landed on my altar, and it wouldn't leave, and it landed on my container that I burned my impepo in, and it had ash in it, of course, and it just landed there, and it wouldn't leave my altar. It alternated between the impepo ash and the candle that I kept lit, and it just stayed there. It just stayed, and it even crawled down inside the candle jar and just stayed there. It didn't die. It just stayed there, and I asked my ancestors in prayer. Said, this fly, what is it? And kind of the answer that they gave back to me was to do some research on the nature of a fly, on the spiritual nature of a fly. Now, most of us think that flies are annoying. I personally don't like the buzzing of flies, but I've come to appreciate them because flies represent perseverance. They represent determination. They represent the unrelenting spirit of keep going. And that fly came to me during a time where I was ready to pack my stuff and go back home and figure my life out on my own. I was ready to quit my process because the stuff that was coming up, it was just, I was like, I just need to go home. This is just too much. But that fly came to me to say, keep going. And then when I began to talk with my Mkulu about it, he told me that in certain tribes in Africa, that when the warriors would come back home from war after a successful campaign, after having survived the fight, they would get a necklace or a neck piece with golden flies on it, meaning they didn't give up. That's a warrior spirit. So if I had killed that fly when it first came in, I would not have been able to get that message. I would not have gotten that message. I would have given up. I would have quit. Or at least I would have tried really hard to. I don't think my ancestors would have let me, but I would have tried I would have really tried hard to quit. Like, go home. Maybe have to come back type of try hard. So that message came from the bug. It came from the spider. It came from the fly. So, in the same way, spiders bring us messages that tell us to use our creativity for our own sustenance. You know, a spider catches its food by creating a web. So that's what the spider comes to tell us, And for you, little star, I believe that's what the spider is telling you is to use your creativity and then to use your ability to move through certain spaces in order to create the um, the way and the path that you need to create. I'm not going to go too far into that. Um, you need to contact me. Little star one, inbox me, so we can continue this conversation. But in general, I would definitely say that, try not to kill the bugs. Try to see what they're there to tell you. Now, if you have bugs because you need to clean your house, honey, clean your house. Take out the trash, wipe up under them cabinets, wipe them cabinet doors down and that refrigerator door down, and, get your life together. But even in that case, if you have bugs, they are there to tell you that it's time to get your house together. It's time to get your house in order. It's always a message from Spirit. Spirit inhabits all living things. And Spirit is always talking if you listen. See you next time. Takoza.